Hello and welcome to another episode of Opinions Are Like Act. You fill in the rest. I'm here with my brother Lance, and we are going to give our opinions on the True Kitchen and Cocktails debacle that's been in the news this week. It's about a restaurateur who actually went on a bit of a rant with some of the customers in his restaurant who were in his establishment, and they were twerking to the music that was playing over the loudspeakers, and he had to come out and he told them a word or two. My brother and I are going to debate about whether or not it was appropriate, whether or not he should have singled out just those people instead of addressing the whole restaurant, and also how marketing can affect the type of crowd that you bring into your establishment. So those are going to be our subjects for this evening, and we hope you listen and enjoy. Thank you. Okay, and here we are for our first segment, addressing the people versus addressing the crowd. And I have Lance here, and we're going to get started.
Yes, hello. This was a pretty interesting incident that happened over the last couple of days ago, and I just thought it was a pretty good thing to talk about. I think there's a lot of layers, a lot of underlining stuff that happened in this one incident. So I think this will be a pretty fun debate to examine.
Yeah, I was done with the podcast, but he was like, well, let's do this as a podcast. I'm like, too bad it didn't happen a few days ago. We could have done it from my first podcast.
Oh, yeah.
But okay, the topic today, or right now, this subtopic is addressing the people versus the crowd. Now, when Lance first brought this to my attention and I watched the clip, all I saw was what someone had recorded on their phone, which was him coming out into the, I guess it was like the back area, the back dining area, and he was addressing the entire crowd of people. And he was like, listen, he was kind of talking in a raised voice. I opened up this restaurant. I put a lot of money into it, to have something nice for our people. So if you're going to be in here trying to twerk and do all those other things, take it to some place called
Pink's.
I guess that's a strip club, Pink's, or
some other club.
And if you don't like it, get the F out, because I don't need your money. I need to make some. I'm doing this for my people. We're going to address that whole my people thing in a little while. But I thought when I first saw that, I was like, okay, well, why is he out there addressing everybody and cursing out in front of everybody? Because I hadn't seen the video of what exactly had happened before he came. But I was like, okay, was everybody in there just acting a fool or what?
Okay, so that's what made this when this incident first came out, when the video first came out, this is what made it a little bit more messy. But over time, a lot more information has come out, and also with additional security footage from the restaurant, plus with his own written statement from the owner as well. His name is Kevin. Apparently, this what happened. It was a typical Friday evening. It was like the vibe was pretty good. Everyone was having fun and enjoying themselves. But apparently I thought this was one table. This was 3 tables, apparently, of women that were getting a little bit too hyped up to the music. The Kevin actually on his social media actually posted up more video footage showing what happened. He had addressed these 3 tables twice. When he started yelling and went on this rant, that was the 3rd time he had to call them out. But the first time, he had politely told them, hey, I do love the fact that you're all enjoying yourselves, but hey, you kind of just calm it down a bit, so will you please not do all that twerking stuff. He comes out a second time, and you can actually see this in the security footage. He's actually going up to them, he's putting his hands together like he's begging them, please, I already came out here the first time. Please don't do that again, please. So just calm it down a bit. I'm glad you're having fun, but please just calm down for respect of everyone else. For the respect of everyone else. And then when he finally went on his rant, that was the third and final time that's happened. Now, when he went on this rant, I can kind of, if you saw it without the context, I can see most people thinking that he was addressing the entire crowd. I don't think he was trying to address the entire restaurant. I think it made it seem that way because he was yelling at 3 tables. Because that was the 3 tables that was doing this thing. Those doing all the twerking and stuff. It was 3 tables. So you have 3 tables and you trying to yell at all of them. Yell at all of them. I can definitely see it coming off as he was addressing the entire restaurant. But I don't think he was. And also, if you weren't doing the things that he was talking about in the video, I don't think you have nothing to worry about. He wasn't talking to you. He was talking to the 3 tables that were doing what they were doing.
I don't like that argument. That whole, well, if you weren't doing the thing, then when he came out and yelled, you shouldn't have been offended because he was not talking to you. I get the premise of it, but they used to say that. I remember they used to say that when rap music would say the B word and the H word all the time. And then people would say, oh, well, if you're not a B or an H, then, you shouldn't be offended because they're not talking to you. Yeah, they kind of are, because the people who listen to their music and who throw those words out and they're on the song singing about it, I am a B or an H just walking down the street because they don't know me. So therefore, gives them all the more reason, oh, she's just another B, another H, like all of them. So you can't go with the whole, well, if you weren't doing that, well, if you're not a B, then when they say B, you shouldn't be offended because they're not specifically saying Mallory Michelle Frierson from Texas is no, they're talking about womankind. So when he was in there yelling about, even though I'm not going to say he wasn't justified, when he was in there yelling, people who weren't doing anything, I think, should have taken a bit of offense because, okay, well, daggum, you know which tables were acting a fool. Go over to that table, clear it out. That table, clear it out. That table, clear it out. And kick all 3 of those people, of those tables of people out. I wouldn't have raised my voice. Out of security, I'm clearing that table and that table and that table. And leave the rest of my patrons to their food. Because then I'm disturbed. Okay, the twerking may have been disturbing them, but me yelling is disturbing them too. So I would have just went, get security, I want that table and that table and that table cleared. Get them out. And then the crowd would have still been eating, but watching a show of those 3 tables getting put out. Even though they weren't doing anything and they shouldn't have been, maybe they shouldn't have been like, oh my God. They were still there and had to endure it. Like when we're walking down the street, some guy's like, well, hey, can I have your number? And you're like, well, no, thank you. You could be nice as pie. He's still going to revert to that rap song he heard. Oh, well, you're just even though, and I'm still not the person in the song, but I'm still getting the treatment. They weren't doing 90% of the people in that room, 95% weren't doing anything. But they're still getting the yelling treatment. You can't, oh no, these yelling vibrations aren't for your ears. It's just for these twerking tables. It's not for you. Scream, scream, yell, yell, yell. I mean, I'm still having to hear it. So that's my only point. I don't think he was wrong for addressing them, but if he had just walked up to them like a boss and I just pick their plates up full of food. Just pick them up.
You just keep the check. Don't worry about it.
You're done. I'm not done. No, you are. You're done. I pick them plates up, and if you make a fuss, you're going to go to jail tonight because security right out there. Not a point go right out that door right there. You had a free 2 bites of food. Congratulations. They're left there just as hungry as when they sat down.
So don't even worry about the check. Just go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see that. I can definitely agree with the comparison with rap music, because like during those times, it's like, yeah, you could say, oh well, he was the, yeah, he said, you can say that, well, he wasn't talking about me, but he kind of was, because during that time it wasn't as like laser focused as to what particular women they were talking about exactly. You can, it was like over generalizing almost. So
Big
it's like,
because a lot
so
of
it seems like, so yeah, you can be talking about anyone. But I guess I'm just looking at it because like he's talking about in this particular case of what's been going on in the past hour. This is what's been going on. So, and this is the action that's been going on in the past hour. So those are the actions I'm pointing out exactly.
Yeah, but like I said, because that's right. Because even hold on, even with like the music comparison, a lot of those women that they were addressing that way in the music, they weren't doing anything. Oh, look at that fine B walking down the street. Oh, all these H's are beautiful. Or we were out at the club, and all the H's was rolling around. They some fine looking B. Okay, so if any fine woman, any good looking person, anybody with a vagina.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was very
very general.
But that I'm telling you, Lance, this is in the 90s, before you were born. No,
yeah, I'm very well versed what happened
80s,
in the 90s.
That was the swan song of the what do you call it? The Enablers. That was their swan song. Well, if you're not that, you shouldn't be offended when they say that, because they're not talking about you.
Well, they really bad at describing who exactly were they aiming at, because it seemed like it's this very overgeneralization. Like it could be talking about anyone.
It was just
like you said,
a word for woman. It just meant woman.
Like, if you have a vagina, then we're talking about you.
It just all those words meant was woman.
Yeah.
Instead of saying woman or girl or lady or sexy mama, they just said the B word or the H word. So yes, they were talking about anyone who was not male, had a penis. They didn't have a penis, B, H, whatever, skeezer, whatever. So that was my only problem. You were addressing the three tables. The other tables weren't doing anything, so they shouldn't have been offended or whatever, but they still had to endure the yelling. That's where I would have been like turned off big time. So that's why I was like, well, he should have just addressed those three tables and not made a further spectacle of it by making it a whole crowd speech. Because everybody else didn't need to hear the speech. They were sitting down eating. It was just those three tables, and them three tables would have been cleared. Food, I'd have took the fork right out of their mouth. Oh, no. Put that back on.
Spit it out.
Put that back on the plate.
I would have tapped on the back.
Hit that dough.
I would have tapped on that back. No, spit it out. Spit it out.
Well, let's see.
I would have, like, if I had, no, which is sad, because the guy, he didn't have security, but he probably would hire security after this incident, because I would have said, look, see those three tables? I want you to just throw them out. And also, if you can do this extra thing too, you remember Fresh Prince? Where Uncle Phil would throw out jazz? Yeah, like that. Do it. And just pick them up and literally just throw them out.
Yeah, they probably would have had to, because I feel like those women probably would have put up a fight.
Yeah.
So they would have had to have physically removed them. I don't think they would have gone peaceful.
Which is sad, but because like honest, I wouldn't want security to be called on them. Not because what security would do to them, but it was more. It'd just be more of a way to demonize the owner, because they would have said, "Oh, why are you calling the police on us? Why are you calling security?" And whenever you call security or police for that kind of thing, it would never good things would never come out of it. So I wouldn't want him to go that far. I think it would be better for them just to handle it by themselves. But if it needed to come to that, then yeah, call security. But I wouldn't want that to be the first option.
All right, and that is the end of our first segment of addressing the people versus the crowd. Our next segment will be how marketing can affect the crowd that you draw. And we'll be back in a few moments. All right, in this segment, we are going to address how does marketing affect the crowd that you draw into your business. Now, earlier today, I was watching another video about the incident that happened at True Kitchen and Kocktails. And in this video, True Kitchen and Kocktails had I guess it was a web page or a Facebook page. And on this Facebook page or web page, it had like a little intro video to their restaurant. And the intro to this restaurant, the music and video that they chose was Cisco's early 2000s hit, The Thong Song. And I remembered in the rant that the owner of the restaurant made it a point to say he wanted something, it was supposed to be kind of like
upscale and
classy and things like that. And I loved The Thong Song back when I heard it. I still like it today. But I wouldn't classify that song as upscale and classy if I was going to find a song to represent my restaurant that I put a lot of money into, and I want a specific type of crowd. And I told Lance about that this morning when I saw him. And I said, the intro to that was the Thong Song. Like that was his restaurant website theme music. Because there were a lot of people who were in the comments and they were talking about how, well, you're supposed to have this upscale classy place, but you got them playing ratchet music or booty shaking music or twerk music. And then you get mad when people twerk. So they were like pointing out kind of a bit of a hypocrisy on the owner's part. And also the fact that the owner in another video that I saw was on the tables during an event that was being held at his cocktail bar. He was up on the table. He wasn't twerking, of course, but he was up there dancing and just, wild, like it was a wild party, like a wedding reception. In his restaurant, he can get up there anytime he wants to. But he was up there dancing on the table, and they had like champagne bottles, and they were really turning up. But I thought it was supposed to be an upscale, classy place. But like I said, he owns it. So if he wants to bend the rules for this party or that one, that's his business. But the music on his website, the homepage, how he has been caught on video behaving in a way that is not upscale and classy, just like those women twerking was not upscale and classy. Marketing affects your crowd. Lance, what do you think about what I just said about the web page, homepage with the Thong Song, and he himself being caught on camera dancing on the tables with an event that was being held at the restaurant?
Okay, so I didn't know about this video until very, very recently. Like, I may have learned it just like a few days ago. So all this is still pretty new to myself. But my overall thoughts on it is like, my views and opinions on this restaurant, not that much has changed. However, I do agree that he probably shouldn't have marketed his restaurant that way, because I can understand if people were to see that, I can kind of understand where some people would make the assumption, oh, this must be like a party place or whatever. But
and that's just based on what? His personal video of him being caught on the table dancing, or just based on the homepage with the Thong Song? Which one?
I would say both. With both of those things in mind. But it's a part of me. Okay, so I can understand why he would still want to play, music that you consider twerk music in this restaurant, because he, in his rant, he says, he did it for black people, he did it for the culture. And regardless,
our culture toward music. That's coming up in the next segment.
That's an interesting topic.
We'll get to that later.
But so with that in mind, he said you want to do it for Black people, do it for our culture. Whether you like twerk music or not, if you like rap music or what, black music or rap music or not, that's still like a part of it. So he still wants to play in this restaurant, and also he still wants to keep it kind of fun sometimes. You don't want to be playing nothing but like, swing low, sweet chariot. You don't want to be playing that like 24/7. It's going to get pretty old. But even when they play music like that, I still think you should have enough common sense to don't jump on people's furniture and tables.
Even though the owner did it.
Even though he did it, but he's the manager. He can do whatever. The rules are different for him. He owns that. He owns that table. That's his property. So he can do whatever he wants with it. But it's just, I don't know. I feel as though you should still have enough common sense to not do that. I know. It's just really, really weird. Like right now, Mallory, we're making this podcast in your living room. Mm-hmm. This is your couch I'm sitting on.
Yeah.
You pay for this couch.
Mm-hmm.
You can jump on this couch and do whatever you want with it because it's your couch. But how would you feel if I got up and started grinding my feet into your couch and started jumping up and down on it?
Even though Rick James?
Yeah, even though I saw you jump up and down on your couch, it's your couch, you own it. But also, we're family too, and I saw you jumping up and down this couch plenty of times. So what's wrong with me jumping up and down on your couch?
Well, you're bigger than me. And but I guess I didn't say any fault in that man at that event being on that table. I said that's his table. So if he falls off, the table collapses, and what's he gonna do? Sue himself? It's your business and it's your table. So I didn't have any problem with him doing that, but that video was out in the public for anyone to find. So if, let's say, what are we going to eat tonight? Let's go to True Kitchen and Cocktails. Okay, let me look up the restaurant. And I look at the social media. I go to Instagram and, okay, they look like girl, you better put on your dancing shoes. They up there. They got the thong song on here. It's like a club restaurant, right? But it's not a club. It's just a restaurant and bar. But the music and the way that they've marketed it to get, like, I guess, a younger crowd and a middle-aged crowd, that would make me think, they're dancing on tables. That's Cisco on the home page. You know what time it is. Get your dancing shoes on and put some on, some sexy. Let's go. That's what I would think if I saw it. I would not think casual family restaurant. I would not think fancy schmancy white tablecloth restaurant either. I would dress for what they are showing me that they are. And then if I showed up and they were playing Swing Low Sweet Chariot or if they were playing like jazz music, I would still be okay with it, but I would be like, this is not what they
advertise.
Yeah, this is not the experience I was thinking we were going to have today. But I would still, go, because going mainly for the food. But what would you change about the marketing?
Definitely change it. Just make first of all, no dancing in the video at all. Especially if you know that there's no like dance floor in the restaurant. So I would say just make a whole new video to display on his Facebook page. First of all, show there's no dancing at all. Focus more on the food of especially for your market. This is a restaurant, so you should be. So the focus of the video should be on the food. Put the focus on your service, on your waiters, your chefs. Have some really cool footage of them like whipping up some of that good food that you said that your restaurant is really, really famous for. Have to focus on that, and not so much on of the party aspect when this is not the kind of environment that, where this isn't going to be like a party environment. So that's what I would change. Definitely change up the tone of the video. Focus more on your food and your chefs and your workers instead of dancing and hype music.
Yeah, because I think that because people were trying to come in and they were talking about, and I think it does matter. I know you didn't really agree that it shouldn't matter, and to a degree it really shouldn't. But the type of music you play can affect the mood of the people in there. That's why you play classical music in this place, and you play jazz in this place, and you play rock and roll at this place, and you play headbanger music in that place, because the music affects the mood. Mm-hmm. If I was going to play regular music, rap, jazz, rap and R&B and stuff like that, I would at least, because like you say, what you play shouldn't affect how you act necessarily, especially in a place where you see that it's not a bar, it's not a club, it's a restaurant. People are sitting down and eating. At the very least, because that music was loud. Even when he came out to do his rant, that music was loud. I would institute a lowered volume. You can still hear the music,
but it should never go up past a certain threshold.
I should never have to raise my voice to talk to the person across the table from me in a nice upscale type eatery. I should be able to talk to you and you hear me just as clear as if you were sitting next to me, as when you're sitting across from me, because the music was so loud. While he was doing his rant, he had to tell the DJ, "Hey man, cut the music real quick," because it was so loud. That alone would run me out of there. I hate very, very loud music when I'm thinking, okay, we're going to sit here, eat and talk, and we can't even talk because the music is so loud. And then
probably vet for other DJs. Mm-hmm. Or just get a playlist. If you have a PA system in your restaurant, have like an iPod or whatever connected through through a coaxial cable, and just have Spotify play through the playlist.
Yeah,
and just do it like that. So
Spotify does a real good job.
So you don't even have to worry about getting a DJ. You can just do it all through your iPod or your whatever device has Spotify on it, and just play it through that, and don't worry about DJ.
Or have it like, if you want to request a song, text it to this number or whatever, and then the person who has control of the iPod or whatever, they look up your song, they add it to the playlist. Mm-hmm. And then you could change the playlist every other day. Just keep adding to it. Eventually, you'll be able to play 5 days straight of music and never stop. So I would definitely market it a little differently. That way no one walking in there is going to have the impression of, we're going to be dancing on the tables, we're going to be shaking our butts, the thong song going to be blasting, this is going to be the greatest club ever. No, I would let them know this is not a club, this is a
sit-down restaurant.
This is a sit-down restaurant.
Yeah, so there's no confusion.
All right, and that marks the end of our How Marketing Affects Your Crowd. And we're going to come back with our final segment, and we're going to call it, What is Black Culture? Because that was one of the arguments that people were saying, trying to defend the women who were twerking. They were trying to pin Black culture to their actions. So we're going to hit up that segment in a few moments. And since we are both Black,
last time we checked,
yeah, I think we have a opinion to add to that. What is Black culture? And we'll be back in a moment. Can y'all hear that music? Can you dig it? We're about to talk about that Black culture and what it means. Because we're Black, right?
So we can say whatever the hell we want.
Okay, so what is Black culture? According to some of the people who were trying to go against the owner of that restaurant for fussing at those women for twerking. There were some people in the peanut gallery, and they were talking about, that's our culture. That's our culture. Well, that's a part of culture, of Black culture, I'm not familiar with. Mm-hmm. I've seen twerking for a while now, but it's not something that I've ever done at home, in private, at the club, I just don't do it.
And I'm sure it's not part of some sort of like ancestral ritual dance of some kind. It's something still new. That's just, they just, it's not that, it's not been around that long. But that's one of the defensive I've been hearing a lot in order to defend the actions of these women. I have to say, like, this is probably one of the few things that actually offend me. Because if you know me personally, you know that it takes a whole lot to offend me. Like, it really does. Because I don't really just get offended that easy. But when I was hearing stuff like this, I'm like, so you're equating ratchet culture, because that's what it was. Really, I don't even think it was a race issue. It shouldn't be a race issue. But that what was going on in that restaurant was ratchet culture. And for you to equate that with Black culture, that's probably one of the most offensive things you can ever say about your own culture. Because that's not Black culture. Because that's what we say, ratchet, ghetto. In case you don't know what the word is, let me break it down, or let me say some other words for you. Ghetto or ratchet can also be known as unruly, misbehaved, rambunctious, uncouth, classless,
gutter
trash, garbage, no home training, act like you never been anywhere,
raised in a barn.
Who raised you?
Why did they do that?
It's those kind of things. Those are just other words that that can be associated with ratchet and ghetto. And I'm sorry, that's not Black culture. And for you to come on and say that, this is just part of culture, you should have been playing music like that. Like I said, that's one of the most offensive things you could ever say. And also for you, you're also heavily implying that that Black people are just nothing but animals, because when they hear those certain beats or those certain drums or that certain chorus or a hook or whatever, they just can't control themselves. They just have to get up and dance. Yeah, you're implying that Black people have no sense of self-control, when clearly we do. It's just that the uncouth, unruly people wants to get up and show off their entire fat ass to everyone for whatever reason, for attention.
That's true. Because, if that's culture, I don't know too many houses that I've grown up. When we were growing up, Mom and Dad had friends, and we would go to their houses and stuff like that. We didn't walk in; they were jumping up and down on the furniture, rubbing their butt up over the wall, all over the walls. Twerking didn't even exist then. There was no such thing. But unruly, unsocial behavior is not Black culture. So if you're walking around saying, they don't know anything better to do than just they're happy and they were eating and they felt good, so they twerked. No, that's like some low-level beta stuff.
That's low expectations of yourself and your own people.
I've eaten some great food, and I haven't gotten up and shaken my butt to honor the host who cooked it. This is really good. Thank you.
Let me participate in this ritual dance to show my appreciation for the meal that's been prepared for me. Let me get up on your table and shake my ass in this rhythmic rotation.
Yeah, and then after we finish, we'll all go do the electric slide in the backyard. No, that's not Black culture. They were just being stupid. And if you try to dress it up as anything other than being stupid,
then you're being more offensive than what you were probably intended to be.
Yeah, so if some other race or ethnic group comes up to you and starts talking, oh, well, don't worry, we knew you were coming to dinner tonight, so we removed all booty-shaking music from our playlist. You won't have to worry about a thing. You can sit in your seat and eat and not have to worry about that music getting in you and making you jump up and throw it in a circle. Don't worry.
Yeah, because you can't control yourselves. We know you can't control yourselves.
We are part of you. We
want to help you. We want to help you. We are completely understanding. That will be the most condescending, offensive thing that you will ever hear, and you know it. So don't try to defend this. Because if that's the case, then so if you were ever at a place, if you were playing classic Genuine or classic R. Kelly, well, you gotta make room. That's the classic baby making music. So we gotta make room for the human orgy that's about to take place. We know it's about to happen. So people can't control themselves. So we gotta make room, or we just play Nuck If You Buck. Okay, we gotta get out of here. People have to start fighting in a minute, because when people start hearing dun, 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 people that fight has to follow afterwards. A follow-up have to fight.
Pick up your pizza slices.
So
get it to go. They about to turn this place out, and they're gonna start breaking windows. Run.
So that's a very, very lame excuse. I don't like that. I really, really don't. It's just low expectation, and people want to say that. It's funny. There's the people, when there's other black people that say, hey, let's just have a little bit more class. Hey, let's just act as though we have some sense. Then the other side will say, oh, you're self-hating. Oh, you trying to dress us up to be like white people. When no, that's not the case, because white people don't own class. Everyone can show class. Class is not an exclusive white thing. But then you have such a low expectation of yourself in your environment, in your own community. That's self-hate, if you ask me, because you have so low expectations of your own community that you can't expect them. That you don't even you probably don't even believe that they even are capable of showing class.
To me, that's okay. I do speech therapy for kids. When I was in college, we had to learn about the different ways that people speak, as far as region. You got the Northeast, you got the South, you got the middle, you got, and then they would talk about dialects. You have your Asian dialect, which basically kind of, okay, you have your Asian dialect, you have your Hispanic, or this is Texas, so we typically just say Mexican, but his Latino, Hispanic dialect, which just means it's just usually a stereotypical way of how people of that culture or race speak. If you're a first or second generation American Asian person, when you speak, you speak a certain way, and people can tell, okay, well, they haven't been here that long. The same with Spanish. They use a lot of the rules of pronunciation for Spanish words. They just kind of push it on to English words. So when they speak, you can tell, okay, well, they haven't really been here that long. Yeah. They know English, but they're saying the word with the wrong emphasis, or it's what they're saying, though. And usually within a generation or two, you don't hear that anymore. If the parents have those stereotypical dialectical tones, typically the children don't. And even if they do, their children won't. And the same with Latino, Hispanic, Mexican. They might start off and they sound a particular way, and okay, well, they haven't been here that long. And then by the first or second, third generation, that's completely gone. They just speak regular English, and it's fine. I don't like how in the speech therapy book, when we were learning about those different dialects, they actually made a thing. It was called African American English, AAE. And I remember I saw that bullshit in that book. Oh, crap. I saw that stuff in that book. And I was really like, what? And then saying how black people say, basically, don't count it if you're testing a black child or a Hispanic child or an Asian child. If they make this particular mistake, you can't count it against them, because that's like kind of how they speak. But, which I can see, but they don't have that same standard for the white kids. Any mistake those white kids make, that's wrong. That's not how you
can make that excuse for, like, say, the international students, like the Asian students or the Hispanic students who may be from parents that are not originated from the United States, because that's it. Could they probably, because the English is probably their second language,
right?
So you can't. So they kind of have that, like, excuse. You can excuse them for that.
They have that
Whereas
buffer.
for white and black students,
white and black students that are from here.
Yeah, you all from here.
It specifically said African American. It did not say people who are like black, African from Nigeria, African from Sudan, or African from South Africa. Even they don't have that stigma on the way that they speak. They don't have that on them. It's just on African American. And they put that in there, and they allow them to make those mistakes. And technically, they are not supposed to, even though they probably do, they're not supposed to correct it. It should not count. It's not supposed to count against them. But my argument is no. Those kids are multi-generational American kids. If you count it wrong for the white kid, whose parent and grandparent and great-great-grandparent was here in this country, you need to hold that, and you hold them to a standard of excellence. You need to hold those black kids the same standard of excellence. And if they're saying this combination of letters wrong, if they're saying this wrong, if they're saying that wrong, you need to mark it wrong, and you need to correct it, because they don't know any other language except English. So why would you give them a subpar, allow them to have a subpar score and pass?
And you continue with them, and you pretty much enabling them to speak in this broken English,
in a lower level.
Yeah,
they're not pronouncing their words correctly, and then that affects how people see them, how people treat them, how they see themselves ultimately. But those white kids, you bet, if they mess up TH, if they mess up F, if they mess up it all counts against the white kids, because you have a certain expectation of standard of excellence, because that's the only, English is the only language that they know. Well, guess what? African Americans, the only language we know is English.
Yeah.
Just like those white kids. So unless you go back in those kids' family histories and see that their grandparent or their parent is fresh out of Africa, like just came over from Africa not too long ago, or maybe a generation ago, then okay, maybe you could. But even then, if they were from South Africa or something, they don't have a South African dialect. They don't have a West African. They don't have that. They're expected from over there to speak English correctly, and English could be their second or third language. But if they come over here with an Arctic problem, there is no Nigeria. They're expected to know it just like the white kids. And they're just as black as the African American kids, but they give the African American kids this little pass. Well, okay, well, it's expected that they're going to say it wrong. No, correct it, fix it. They should be sounding out words and saying their letter sounds the same as the white kids. Correct them. They will never. Okay, it's going on generation because no one's corrected it. The parents might not hear it or really know it. But if they're in speech therapy for Arctic, you know it. You need to be counting it wrong, and you need to be drilling them the same way you would drill Tommy and Sally. You need to drill Brian and Megan. You need to do. They need to be equal. Don't treat one. Well, they're
because that's another thing too. Because they think by lowering the bar, they think they helping people with you, but you're not. You're doing more harm than good by lowering the bar that much. Yeah, if I was if I were you, I saw that, I would have thrown that book out. I'm like, no.
It was just, it's in the manual. But I let them know. I was like, isn't this kind of lowering the bar for the African American child who is mispronouncing words, saying them wrong, we're just talking about articulation. You should be correcting them.
That's why I'm a teacher. I'm a speech therapist. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I don't think that any of it. If you have an Asian kid in here, and they're not saying L's or their Y's sound like R's or whatever, you don't dismiss that. You try to fix it. You're the speech therapist, and you know that this child, even though they might be imposing some rules that they learned from their parents and grandparents on English is probably the only language that they know, or at least it's going to be the only language that they're really around in school. They need to sound as close to accurate as possible. You need to drill them. And the same with the Hispanic Latino kids. They need to get the same treatment. Don't, it's okay if they miss that. That's expected. That's just how they talk. No, you're a therapist. You're supposed to fix it.
It's still expected, but I can understand why you would kind of give them a pass, because English is probably their second or third language. Whereas, there's no excuse for white especially for African American students, because you've been here multi-generations.
You watch the news. You watch cartoons, and
English,
most of the news anchors are white. The cartoons mostly are voiced by white people. You're going to school with white teachers and white folks. And I'm not saying that's talking white. I'm just saying their standard of English should be the same as any other American, because we are American and we're multi-generational American, and our English as a group should be the same as the white counterparts as a group. Because even if they went into the Appalachian Mountains and got the most country bearded white person and brought them down out of the mountains, and they spoke and no one could understand them, they wouldn't just say, oh, well, that's some Appalachians, they don't really talk worth a dog. No, they need speech. We got to teach him how to speak properly and correctly so that people can understand what they're talking about. The same should be done with a kid who may be living in the backwoods of Mississippi and they only know English, but it's so disordered because of the way that people around them speak. But it is English, it's just poor English.
It's broken English.
Sit down. It's not television, it's television. Television. It's this, it's that. Shortening words and dropping syllables. No, you teach them. You're a speech therapist. That's what I hated the most about doing speech therapy as a student in college, and having to sit there while they're talking about this basic crap, and I'm sitting there like, well, why wouldn't you correct it? Why wouldn't you mark it wrong and then correct it in therapy? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. It's very, very weird, because especially now we're seeing it now. In this time where a lot of people are trying to be, I guess, a lot more sensitive to other people and trying to be more inclusive of other people, and which I can understand. I can see that, but most of the stuff that they do, like I mentioned before, it does a whole lot more harm than good. Which, I kind of want to bring up this other point. Now, back into the incident of True Kitchen. Where the owner, he was telling the women, please don't twerk on the tables, please don't stand up on the furniture and twerk, please don't do that. And the women just steadily ignored his pleas, please don't do that. They ignored him. And then when he eventually, lost his temper and it went off on him, people were saying that, oh, he was trying to police black women or police black bodies.
Yeah.
Or what was he?
Or thought he was better than them, or something.
I thought that was better for them, and they want to throw in like, oh, protect black women. Like, protect black women has nothing to do with this. This was just stupidity.
They weren't being attacked.
They weren't being attacked. So what's to protect?
He didn't call. He wasn't calling them B's and hoes or B's and H's, and he wasn't talking about their mamas and none of that. He just was like, "I've told you once. I told you twice. Sit down. It's time."
And it kind of brought this other conversation that it seemed as though, and also this is a stereotype too, that a lot of people believe that, oh, well, you can't tell black people anything, because if you try to tell them something, then they are automatically going to like take it the worst possible way possible. Yeah, for the worst way possible. And you can't tell them anything. And it just makes it seem like there's not that much accountability going around in the black community. It seems like black people can't be held accountable for anything.
They are.
It's like a black person can't tell another black person that.
What do you mean?
Like, because the moment he told them, hey, don't do that, they immediately ignore them, dismiss them. Then they trying to accuse him of, he's trying to police black bodies. And he's trying to throw in black, protect black women. I'm like, wait, man, y'all doing everything y'all can to dismiss everything this guy was saying.
Well, and they're from the peanut gallery, so they could be trolls. I mean, anybody can make a profile and put a comment. They could just be trolls. But I think that he did right by getting his point across. I just wish he had just went in there like a G and just cleared their tables. They were sitting there with a fork full of food and no food on their plate. Just, no, you're done. Get out. Just like that.
Yeah, I understand. It could be some trolls, but you would be surprised like how many people really believe that. Like genuinely believe that.
But him saying something was making them accountable.
Also,
what everybody else was saying after the fact is irrelevant, because he already held them accountable and tried to, and went in and said his piece. So what everybody said afterwards is like, nobody care. He already handled that. Everything you're saying at this point is just moving the air around. He's already addressed what happened. So he held them accountable.
But it seems like you're not allowed to. Otherwise, you're trying to police. It's like, man, like if I see anyone acting up, I'm going to do whatever I can to just like, no, don't do that. But what are you doing? Act like you have some sense. Just sit down and enjoy your food.
Me, I wouldn't, because you never know what people got on them. I would let management handle it. Now, this is your place. You spent the money in here. If she's working on that window and it break, you're gonna have to pay for that. So you might want to handle that. But
no, it was something else I wanted to bring up too. What was it's probably nothing, but I forgot. But I knew I had another talking point I wanted to bring up.
Well, we're gonna wrap up this talking point of what is black culture. And I hope we broke that down adequately enough. And if Lance can remember his point, we'll come back with that. And if not, you'll be hearing my outro. Thank you very much. Okay, Lance could not remember his final point, but that's okay because we have a nice podcast time length here. So we are going to just wrap it up and say goodnight to all of you people out there listening.
All right, yes, same. It was a really interesting podcast episode. It was something that I just wanted to do the moment I heard about this incident go down, and I'm glad me and Mallory were able to get together and talk it out. It was actually pretty fun. Yes,
it was, and we hope that if we decide to do any more podcasts outside of my class, which got this whole ball rolling, maybe we'll do a few more and see if people pick it up. You never know. But thank you all for listening, and we will talk to you later. Have a good night, and bye-bye.
All right, good night.